Chapter 8. What's all the fuff about? James didn't go home. There were too many answers he couldn't get, not even from his friend who was in fact sleeping with the woman who literally had all the answers. He decided he was going to walk out into the volcanic ash and see if there was anything better in the world. He didn't go haphazardly. He bought a lunch, got some new shoes intended for serious heat, and grabbed his parasol, ready to face the unknown. He walked west. He didn't know why. Explorers always go west. Maybe the compass should just face west, because that's the only place everyone seems to go. There was nothing for miles but a silvery gray ashen landscape. The black lines that permeated it moved in all different angles and directions. Thanks to James, it all now had fresh footprints caved into it. Occasionally he'd look back at them to remind himself how alone he was. The ground was soft, but not enough to fully fall in. The silence was a nice escape. Iowa being the only place left on Earth that James knew of. It was pretty crowded, and now that he thought about it, this was the first time he was hearing silence. It was interrupted by far-off explosions. The visual of lava and rock being thrown in the air like a fleet of kamikaze paper airplanes being chased by molten waves was otherworldly. The reds, oranges, yellows, blacks, grays, and browns lit up his eyes like a jack-o'-lantern. If he could survive out here, he thought he'd stay. It seemed nice enough after all. It was then he saw a small plant growing out of the ashes. The beauty of his so far short journey had prevented him from really thinking about all the troubles he faced. He just kind of enjoyed how nice it was out there. Seeing the plant growing in the soil brought him back to the news story. Maybe she knows. Maybe she's planning on sending people out here to try to live. Then he thought, well, there's not really water anyway around here, which reminded him. He didn't bring enough water. Fuff. James booked it back to his apartment. Chapter 9. The Murder. When James finally arrived home, Thad wasn't there. He shrugged, thinking, must be at the ruler of the world's house, and went to check the mail. On the way to check the mail, he realized that no one has eaten or drank anything this entire book. So he stopped first and ate the lunch he brought for his trip to isolation and drank the water he so desperately ran for. It was cornbread with corn in it because Iowa. But it was the really good cornbread, none of that Cracker Barrel stuff. I mean, they're a southern restaurant chain and their cornbread tastes like nothing? Bullshit. When he finally went to check the mail, he realized there was a red envelope in it. It not being silver made him want to open it first. It didn't have a return address or stamp. It was just red and addressed to James. It read, Dear James, your conversation was overheard in Marcy's today with Thad. I see that your employment has already been revoked, and my employees tell me that you were off into the Forbidden Zone today, which was all great news for me. Now, if you seem to find your way back here, maybe because, I don't know, there's no source of water nearby, I figured this letter would be threatening enough, understand? Your mysterious and giving ruler of Iowa, Earth Mother. P.S. Even though you're a man, you seem smarter than most, and I assumed it was obvious that Thad had been kidnapped by me. Don't worry, though. We still use each other for pleasure, and he otherwise hangs out in a spare room I have. It's quite nice, actually. There's even more colors than silver here in my house. James thought about how happy Thad had been before he thought about the romance aspect of it. Maybe he didn't need to rescue him. Would Thad rescue James if he was in the situation? Thad always seemed to do things by the book previously to being drugged and falling in love with having his dick sucked. James' thoughts turned to getting water to the vast wasteland that seemed so nice before. Maybe if he brought enough of it out there, it would help grow more plants. Being unemployed and under cover of night, he was able to go straight to the water department of Iowa. He saw a water transplant truck and just needed to figure out how to get in it. Oh wait, there's no motor, so there's no keys, and no one would expect a man to drive. Perfect. James ran and got in as quickly as he could. He pedaled his ass off and made it to the edge of town. As soon as the wheels touched the lava, the truck sank, like an emu plunging its head in the sand. The front of the truck was irreplaceably stuck, but unfortunately still very much aware of its surroundings. "Fuff!" James almost swore.